Shalom. I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Ha, Rocha, Kodash, Ma'amath. Double honors to the elder apostles of GMS and their elders. Double honors to my elder apostle, Aharawan Banya Sharala of the Lions Den Camp, here in Jacksonville, Florida. Shalom to the sincere Akim, pushing his truth and sincerity around the four corners of this earth. I'm Nakarab Ban Yasharala, coming out of the Lions Den Camp of Yasharala here in Jacksonville, Florida. And today I'll be coming out of a lesson and is on this article. I ain't got really nothing. Got some scriptures, but it ain't planned. But without further ado, let's just get right into it. I'm not gonna read this whole article because how Esau do, it be the good stuff that you looking at that you need to understand, and then after that it'd be a bunch of jargon, and it didn't, But as it says here, it says MAGA podcaster declares civil war, and we know that for a fact that's actually coming. That's and the way with the, I call them the faceless agents, meaning because they always covered up. The faceless agents, they're out there provoking sedition. They're not actually harming real criminals. They're harming regular everyday people. And of course we know this is all by design. This is supposed to happen. But nonetheless, we're on the cusp of civil unrest. So without further ado, I'm gonna read this article. It says a popular MAGA podcaster has appears to have turned Salakia on President Babylon in the wake of the second fatal shooting of a U.S. citizen. They keep saying federal, but whatever. By the faceless provocateurs in weeks. It says right-wing political commentator Tim Pool declared a civil war and branded the president weak as he questioned the Trump administration's narrative surrounding the murder ICU nurse Alex Jeffrey Pretty. It says Pretty was a U.S. citizen who had no criminal record, was murdered by a faceless provocateur on Saturday while protesting President Babylon's immigration crackdown in his city following the January 7th murder of Renee Good by a faceless provocateur. It says the Trump administration officials say that Pretty, who was licensed to carry a firearm, was armed during the incident but did not specify if he brandished the gun. And the truth of the matter is the man didn't. They was beating up a lady that was a teacher, spraying her in the face, and he was like, hey, come on, and they wrestled him to the ground. One of the faceless provocateurs took his firearm, his legal firearm, and then shots rang out, and this man ends up murdered, and he never ever even came in a violent stand from a violent or threatening standpoint. But let's continue. Again, the Trump administration officials say Pretty, who was licensed to carry a firearm, a legal firearm, was armed during the incident. Well, everybody over there was armed. We all got arms. Everybody walking around armed every day. What's wrong with Esau and this? I'm joking. But anyways, was armed during the incident, but did not specify if he brandished the gun. He didn't. A bystander video of the shooting that emerged soon after Pretty was seen with a phone in his hand, but none appears to show him with a visible weapon. It comes after an faceless provocateur agent made a chilling 3-word order before shooting hit a woman 5 times. There you go. See, they there you go, man. They be messing up. They hurting regular everyday citizens. You can't push people into a corner and expect them not to fight. But this is all according to the upcoming civil unrest, the intensifying of Jacob's trouble. It says savage new nickname for Trump's Board of Peace trends online as more countries refuse to join, whatever that nickname is. It says Caroline Leavitt, or Leavitt, whatever, storms out of the press conference after bizarre pregnancy remark. The Trump administration said shots were fired defensively against Pretty, who faceless provocateur authorities claim was violently resisting officers, and he wasn't. If you've seen the video, appears the man may have been disarmed before being shot, and he was. Poole noted in a post like it on X, as the fatal shooting rapidly began circulating online. This chain of events this is a chain of events in a greater conflict, and that's true. Neither side cares at this point what justifies or doesn't. I don't see President Babylon winning this one. He added, and of course, this is the guy who's jaded. Don't really keep up with them kind of people anyway. So let's continue. It says Trump is weak. The Culture War podcast host said in a second post, Trump isn't Lincoln, he's Buchanan. He later declared, referring to the 15th U.S. President James Buchanan, who has often been branded as one of the worst presidents for failing to prevent civil war. Well, the times we're coming in, that is the next thing up. That is on the queue. That's coming up next. It's happening. We see it. This is this Civil War. This is Civil War. Poole wrote as he shared a post by Democratic strategist Matt McDermott, claiming that Attorney General Pam Bondi is openly using state violence as a bargaining chip to seize election infrastructure. Okay, see how it started going on left. It says Bondi sent a 3-page letter to the Minnesota Governor Tim Walz with 3 requests following Pretty's death. One call for the Department of Justice to be given access to voter rolls. The Attorney General stated, Salakia III, allow Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice to access voter rolls to confirm that Minnesota's voter registrations practices comply with federal law as authorized by Civil Rights Act of 1960. Fulfilling this common sense request will be a better guaranteed free and fair elections and boost the confidence in the rule of law. The problem let's go. That's what I was talking about. It started getting the jargon. But I read this article yesterday completely, and I read it today again completely. But for the main part, we're going to focus on what's important in this article. The civil unrest that's coming, because it was prophesied in the scriptures, 2nd Ezra chapter 15, that Egypt was going to mourn, the foundation of it was going to be smitten with the plague and the punishment that the Most High is going to bring upon it. And part of that is what? Civil unrest. The breakdown of a system. The pushing of citizens into a corner till they come out of that corner fighting, biting, and scratching, killing, and whatever they got to do to get up out of that. And that's just part of what the Lord said was going to happen to Babylon, this whore that sits upon the scarlet-covered beast. But let's get to it. This is Second Esdras 15, and I'm just verse 14. It says, "Woe to the world and them that dwell therein." So woe, we know what woe is. We know woe is a form of judgment, not a form. It is judgment. It is harsh, hard, bad times to come, and that's coming to the world. And it says, "And them that dwell therein." So it's going to be a lot of people going to get caught off guard by this. They're going to be caught up in it, I would say. Verse 15, it says, "For the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up to fight against another, and swords in their hands." And this is coming to that very quickly. It is rapidly going in that direction. The sword is drawing nigh, coming to this whore that sits upon the scarlet covered beast. Is getting to a point, and it's going to come to a point that people are going to stand up and fight against each other. Why? With swords in their hand. And what is the modern day sword? The gun. People are going to be fighting each other. They're going to be fighting not also each other, but they're going to be fighting authoritative forces, such as governmental authoritative forces. Not going to say no abbreviations, but you know what they are. You know who they are. So that's what's going to be happening. Verse 16, "For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power." So it's going to get to a point to where it's going to get so bad. It's going to get so chaotic and so hectic and so much pandemonium going on that people are going to start invading one another, and they're not going to regard their kings. They're not going to regard the police. They're going to get to a point where they're not going to regard any authoritative or authority, period. Because they're going to take the actions into their own hands, because they're just going to look and see that the authoritative powers are not serving them. So people are going to start taking matters into their own hands. And we see that now. And this is all part of the sedition and part of this civil unrest that is coming to this whore that sits upon the scarlet covered beast. And it is what it is. Thus saith Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. People are going to stand in their own power. People are going to take matters into their own hand. So when the faceless provocateurs show up with the tomfoolery, people ain't finna be protesting. People finna be aiming back and launching projectiles at 900 plus feet per second at them. Verse 17. "A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able." It's going to get that bad. It's going to get that bad where people going to want to leave and go other places, and they ain't going to be able. Why? Because there's going to be lockdowns. There's going to be checkpoints. There's going to be choke points. Barricades. Where you ain't going to be able to move and go where you want to go. People going to want to leave and go into a city, and they're not going to be able to do it. Let's go to Obadiah. I'm gonna stop right there. Let's go to Obadiah, because you know, as you understand, another point, this MAGA, as you see the word, they're starting to become divided, and a house divided cannot stand. And whose fault is it? President Babylon's fault. Nero Babylon. You know, people that was going for the MAGA, they got the okie doke pulled on them. President Babylon was cool and nice the first time he ran, but now, no, this is a whole nother President Babylon right here. He's at any point, by any means necessary, issuing out draconian measures. The Insurrection Act, which will lead to martial law, which will lead to lockdowns. And if that happens, you know, if the Lord allowed, and the way President Babylon trying to play his cards, he trying to stay in power, you know. But a house divided against itself cannot stand. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna grab that real quick. That's what's going on with them, with these. I'm gonna call them red hatters. These Edom hatters. Let's go real quick, and I'll come back to Obadiah. Because they divided right now. And then that division is going to become ever more pronounced. Even more pronounced. Edom is going to divide even more. But let's continue. This is Mark chapter 3. Let's see. I'm gonna just start at the point. It says this is verse 24 of Mark chapter 3. It says, and if a kingdom be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. And right now we see a kingdom divided against itself. So guess what? This kingdom can't stand. We're seeing the stress and the striations in it. We're seeing the cracks in the foundation. It's falling. Slowly, quickly falling. The Lord know how to do it, don't he? He can make something fall real fast but slow. Verse 25, and it says, and if a house be divided against itself, that house cannot stand. So even a house, if it's divided against itself, people in that house, ain't nobody on one accord, ain't nobody in that house ain't gonna stand. It's gonna be a collapse at some point. Verse 26, I'm just going to read that too. It says, and if Satan rise up against himself and be divided, he cannot stand but hath an end. And we see Satan rising against Satan. We see Adawam rising against Adawam. And guess what's finna happen? They cannot stand. We see this devil going down. It's like devil slipping and sliding, falling, trying to grab stuff on the way down and pulling everything down with him. And his fall is not breaking and it's not slowing down. It's actually speeding up. We're seeing a collapse and a destabilization in real time. With the recent happenings with President Babylon sending an armada over there towards Iran, that's even more. Back to Obadiah. Because they're divided, so they're gonna fall. But back to Obadiah. Verse 7. It says, all the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. So people that were once allied with this devil, or at least allied with this devil, probably, who knows how long, they're gonna bring this devil even to the border. I mean, this devil is outside of his jurisdiction. They got this devil outside of his own borders with the tomfoolery. It says, the men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee. So the men that were at peace with this devil gonna deceive him, play a nasty, ugly trick on him. And guess what? And it says, and prevailed against thee. So not only is these other nations gonna deceive this whore that sits upon the scarlet covered beast, they're gonna prevail at that deception. And they that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee, and there is none understanding in him. So those that have did business and commerce with this whore, they're gonna lay a trap or a wound. They're gonna start stopping certain things, and it's gonna hurt this whore that sits upon the scarlet covered beast. And at some point, when the Lord will, he gonna make the 7 heads and 10 horns turn and hate the whore and burn her with fire and eat her flesh, meaning destroy. And we know who the whore is that sits upon the scarlet covered beast. It's Babylon, aka bitter. Also known, well, BKA America. And it is what it is. Let's continue. Let's keep going. What this is. This is Nahum 3 and 5. It says, Behold, I am against thee, saith the Lord Yahweh of hosts, and I will discover thy skirts upon thy face, and I will show the nations thy nakedness, and the kingdoms thy shame, and I will cast abominable filth upon thee, and make thee vile, and will set thee as a gazing stock. And the Lord is doing this right now before our very eyes. The Heavenly Father, Yahweh, the Lord of hosts, he has discovered the skirts upon this devil's face, meaning the Lord is exposing to the world, to these kingdoms, to these nations, the nastiness, the putridness, and the wickedness, and the underhanded backdoor deals that goes on here in Babylon. And that's causing shame. People are seeing it, and it's like the other nations are now looking like shaking their head. And guess what? The Lord is casting abominable filth upon this whore, upon Babylon, making Babylon vile. And something that is vile, you know, it's over. It's disgusting. It's hated. You can't stand it. To me, vile is like an upgrade of despise. It's vile. And the Lord is going to make this place a gazing stock. Pointing the finger. Critiquing. Criticizing. Last point. Habakkuk. Salakia. Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 16. It says, Thou art filled with shame for thy glory. Drink thou also, and let thy foreskins be uncovered. The cup of the Lord Yahweh's right hand shall be turned unto thee, and shameful spewing shall be on thy glory. So, this devil is filled with shame for glory. Why do you think he's taking down monuments, taking down mosaics and murals, and hiding them, keeping everything under wraps? Why? Because this devil is shamed for what he did to Yasha Allah, to so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, the Israelites, and the speckled bird, meaning Israelites that looked like these other nations, but their bloodline go back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, because they belong to Yasha Allah. So the Lord tells him to drink thou also, meaning now it's time, is this devil's time and turn to take part in the dregs, to take part in the lowliness, to take part or get back or get put back in his original position, which is low, base, nothing. So drink thou also, and it says, and let the foreskins be uncovered, meaning let the secrets, the things that are done in Babylon be exposed, because the cup of the Heavenly Father's right hand, Yahweh, is turned into this devil, and shameful spewing is going to be on this devil's glory, and we see that right now. It's gotten worse. It's a lot of stuff they don't put on the television, because, you know, Edom is one of those nations that like to save face. As I used to watch this British comedy called Keeping Up Appearances. Yeah, that's really what Aisha does. He wants to keep up appearances. He wants to appear as if he has everything together, but it ain't all together. Because shameful spewing is on this devil's glory. Everything that he thought it's a wrap. It's going down. They expose from the top all the way down to the bottom. All of Ottawan, from the elites all the way down to the lowest Ottawamite. All of them, everybody exposed. So yeah, we're gonna see more striations. We're going to see more cracks. We're going to see more division among Adawan. And all we got to do, those who believe, those who are in the truth, those who are in the know, stay prayed up, stay walking the path of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, and sit back and watch this devil fall. He destroying himself. We ain't got to do nothing but preach this word. And with that, shalom.